that?
interesting.
Did you read that, or do you read that to discover yourself or to help you guide your team?
I mean, both, right? Like it's self-development's ongoing.
Right.
So,
and if you're not doing that, it's just,
I mean, you should always be learning.
Yeah.
So it's just a quest to always learn. I like reading, so it calms me a little bit. So
do you need calming?
I'm not a hype person, but my mind doesn't stop running.
Same.
I'm an introverted person, which I think a lot of people were surprised to hear me say. So I like being at home, but my mind doesn't stop racing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's great. But a lot of times it's hard to shut off. But reading helps calm it. But then with Atlas, it's a growing company. There's 30 people there now. There's 23 agents. It's continuing to grow. So continuing to learn and follow that path of team building, but not just team building, but making sure people are in the right seats so that they are happy at work.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves to be happy with their work.
Right.
The average American spends a third of their life at work.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that people are happy doing things that they enjoy, doing things that they energize, but then also that we're getting stuff done.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than sitting idle.
Nothing worse.
No one likes sitting in traffic.
No.
So, why do that at work? So, yeah, it's all that is why I read stuff like that.
Do you read the book or do you listen to audiobooks or a combination?
So I read the books. I like having I love the smell of opening an Amazon box and there's a book in there, fresh book.
Dude.
I love the smell of two things.
You're an analog girl in a digital world.
Yeah. I am I mean, it might be signs of a psychopath, man. I like the smell of a fresh book. And man, when I open up that box of sneakers, the first thing I do is smell the
do you ever sniff new tennis balls?
I haven't gotten a sleeve of new tennis balls lately. I probably should, though. I might like it.
Grab yourself a sleeve, crack it open.
You know what? I need to treat myself. Sleeve of tennis balls.
On the way home, just huff some tennis balls.
I'm texting my wife when I leave here. I'm going to ask her for stocking stuffer of tennis balls.
Oh, you're taking up tennis? No, the smell.
No, I just want to smell them. Just want fresh tennis sleeves all the time.
Do you know what really smells horrible?
Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
My daughter's breath smells awful. She doesn't brush her tongue consistently enough. I always smell it at the bus stop.
You got to get her you smell it at the bus
stop? I'm like,
stop?
did you brush your tongue? She's like, no. And I'm like, let me smell. Or she'll say yes. I'm like, let me smell. And then she doesn't. I'm like, no, I can even see it.
Oh.
Yeah. She's like, ah.
You got to get her a tongue scraper. You ever seen this?
Yeah, I have seen this. Kind of weird.
Dude, exposing your daughter on the... Did I hit record? I hit record. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know you were such a sniffer.
Dude, I'm not Joe Biden, man. But no, I'm a big sneakerhead and I like books, so I smell them. It smells fresh.
Well, you probably orient the smell with the pleasure that you get from reading.
Yeah, I do get a lot out of reading. You know what's harder to do, and it goes back to your question, do I read versus listen, is it's harder for me now to retain. So I highlight almost every book, which sucks because sometimes I wish I could pass along the book to somebody else, but I butcher mine, man, between notes and stuff. So what I've been doing is I had been reading, highlighting, and then at a later time going back into Google Docs and making summaries of what I just read.
Really?
To help try to retain, because it's been harder with age to retain. And then I read Alex Hormozzi, $10 Million Offers. You ever follow him on Instagram? You should. He's pretty good to follow. But one of the first things he talks about in his book is you should, in addition to reading this book that you have in your hand right now, you should download it on Audible and listen to it at the same time. You learn better that way. So I have not done that yet, but I'm gonna try it.
I've been reading the Daily Stoic, which is like basically it's a freaking calendar.
Yeah.
You know, like
yep, I have it.
You have it?
I have it bedside.
Nice. Are you reading it this year? Or did you read it before?
I have not. I've read it twice. But
really?
Yeah, I haven't read it this year.
It's incredible how you read some quotes from like Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, or
they're timeless.
And it's like, how was this person that lived 3,000 years ago going through the same mental thoughts that we are here in 2020? And especially Marcus Aurelius, having lived through. I kind of discovered him during the pandemic, and he was emperor during the Antonine Plague. So he was an emperor during the plague, and like talks about a lot of the stuff that we went through, like the solitude and his people struggling, and it's crazy how it relates. People are people, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, and our afflictions aren't new.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you cope with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is interesting that those people then with less available to them, right, in terms of technology and information, things like that, still had some of the same issues that they talked about.
And I know there's poverty in the world, and there are people who have nothing, but like the vast majority of people, at least in the United States, they live better than emperors did.
Oh yeah.
Like warmth and covers and beds and TVs and
I don't think I want the pressure of an emperor though.
No.
Yeah. You got somebody looking. You got to look over your back. Somebody's trying to assassinate you.
Who got assassinated by one of his congressmen? Somebody. One of the emperors.
Was it Caesar?
Was it Caesar? I don't know.
Brutus, I believe. E2 Brute.
Yes.
I believe, was he a Congress or senator?
Senator, Congress, something like that.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
They got him.
Man, I didn't even know if we were going to Roman history here.
I
like
didn't,
it though.
The thing is,
I generally base a lot of my Roman history though. The foundation for it is the movie Gladiator.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Basically all of it.
Yeah.
And then whatever you can digest in a 30-second Instagram Ryan Holiday Instagram post.
Yes, that's it. That's right.
I probably read in the last couple years, probably 3 or 4 Stoicism books. I don't know how it like popped up. It's definitely gaining in popularity through people like Ryan Holiday and whoever else. But
how many books you read?
I'm getting through like 2 or 3.
How many? Why do you read?
Why do I read? To educate myself, to keep my mind sharp, to
on things that are important to you.
Things that interest me.
Yeah. What books have you been reading? Like what kind of books?
Right now I'm reading Dave Grohl's book, The Storyteller, and I'm also reading a Stoicism book. So I kind of like pick it up when I can.
Do these books make you better in some form?
I think so.
Okay.
Because right now
Is that an attraction to reading?
I think it keeps my mind sharp.
Yeah.
And I think that if I try and do a lot of things, they all feed into each other. And I think that I'm at my best when I'm well rested, exercising, reading, and riding my longboard.
What's your greatest role in your life?
My greatest role?
Yeah, what's your greatest part of your life?
Father, husband.
How many books have you read about fatherhood?
Have you seen this one?
I have not, but I'm glad that you pulled one out because that was a blind spot for me a few years ago. Is I had a great mentor coach of mine, Eric Hatch. He asked years ago.
I've been reading this on and off for about a year, and I'm on chapter 7. And I try to keep it at my desk, so when I do have 10 minutes, I'll read a little bit because it's really hard to be a parent, and it's insane to have this little brain, this little kid who doesn't know anything, and like you get frustrated as a person, and it really helps to understand like the way that their brain works.
And footsies with you.
And so I'm reading that one, Raising Lions, which is really awesome. It's about like these kids that were labeled as like bad behavior kids, and how to instead of act as if they're the bad kid or figure out what makes them tick and figure out why they fidget or why they don't pay attention, because everybody has the potential to nobody's like born like a bad seed. It's people are misunderstood and then they're drugged like 4,000% or whatever that is more prescribed antipsychotics, antipsychotic medication for children something like 4,000. It's in like the first chapter of that book, but it is alarming, and it's since the 80s, and it's like you're messing up the kids. So yeah, I mean, good point. I should be reading more about that, but I am.
I mean, the fact that you are is a step ahead of when that question was asked of me. And again, great mentor, coach of mine, Eric Hatch, asked me years ago. God, it must have been 2018. Mm-hmm. He said, how many books have you read this year? And I was like, 15, 16. He's like, awesome. And he goes, what were those books? And I was like, business related, leadership related. Those are things that interest me. I want to get better there. He's like, that's great. Awesome. He goes, what's your biggest role, your greatest role in your life? Same answer, father, right? I got 2 little girls. Awesome. He goes, how much time have you spent learning about being a better father? And I was like, gut punch. Yeah. So, it's trying to be more well-rounded with what I'm reading too. And then also try to mix in some leisure. Yeah. Which is why I picked out Sapiens on your shelf.
Which is so cool.
It's a very fascinating
book.
You
read the first page and you're like, oh, and you think you feel smarter.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, there's some pages in that book where I read it, and then I was like, wait, what?
Made you feel dumb.
And I was like, I got to read that again. I was reading pages 2 or 3 times, just because it was so fascinating. Mm-hmm. But for anybody that ends up listening to this, anybody that has daughters, the first book that I got on parenting, because I have 2 girls. Mm-hmm. I'm a girl dad.
That damn good one.
Thank you.
From what I can see,
I'm trying. As long as I'm better today than I was yesterday. That's a win. Yep. But one of the first books that I got, which was one of a top 5 books, easy for me, and it was compelling. I need to read it again. Actually, was Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, and it really highlighted the importance of the father's role in a girl's life. And for the guys out there that are married, have girls, have maybe even older daughters, ask them. Mm-hmm. Your wife, your sister, your older daughters out there, they'll tell you how important your role is in their life. And it really comes down to being presence. But I don't want to ruin the book, but it is an absolutely compelling book and a must read for anybody out there, any dads out there that have daughters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kids need parents.
They need presents, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Like Christmas presents?
That depends. If you ask the kids that, they'll say that. Yeah.
Did you say presents?
Yeah.
Presents as man. In you're in the room, or presents as in you're like, what are you up to? Let's do something.
Dude, there's a difference between being in the room and being present.
Right. That's why I asked.
And there's a lot of distraction right now, and
traps.
It's in your hand.
Yeah.
They need presence, and that's at the basis of any kid, regardless of the parent-kid relationship. Son, mother, son, father, father, daughter, father.
Your daughters are like what? 10, 12, 8,
13 and 9.
13 and 9.
Yeah.
Are they? Does the 13-year-old have a phone? Does the 9-year-old have a phone?
Man, I finally broke on that. So she did not have a phone until her birthday this year, which was in April. So she was 13 when she got one. And to her defense,
probably proper.
You know what? I don't fault anybody for their parental decisions. Just my own belief. When she doesn't need it, she needs to be a kid.
Right.
And the minute you give a kid access to that, you are giving. They now have an outlet that prevents them from wanting to go out and play, or be involved in some extracurricular activity, or put time into their work, or read.
Or be bored and think.
Yeah. And I've watched that happen since April, to my dismay. But I made the decision because she had never asked. And I'm sorry, you know what? It wasn't her birthday. It was Christmas last year. So It's coming up on a year. And she did have it on her Christmas list. And we're talking about a girl that is kind. She's smart. She's in honors level classes across the board and gets straight A's. Mm-hmm. She has the courage to be involved in a lot of different things, from stage acting to band to basketball, lacrosse, all sports.
Well-rounded,
much
life.
more courage than I ever had.
Yeah,
she's a good kid.
Right.
And because of my own prejudices against letting her have a phone and what I thought that might do to her, and I was right in a little regard on that, I was preventing her. I was keeping her from an opportunity to trust her.
Right.
Right. In order to trust, she needs to have the opportunity to be trusted, and I was keeping that from her. But she had earned that, and all of her friends had it. Not that I was trying to let her be like all her. Not that I want her to be like everybody else, but also at the same time, that's how the world communicates. That's how their world communicates. So I did break, and I relented and gave her the phone. She got a phone for Christmas. She was so pumped. She does spend too much time on it. That's probably on me.
We all do.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, but you know, one thing she does not have, other than a TikTok account, is social media. And
Which is
I'm not caving.
Wait,
on
she
that.
does have a TikTok account?
She does have a TikTok account, and there's pretty strict parameters around it.
You can set up pretty strict parameters.
Yeah, and we talk.
Can you
about
block China? That's a parameter you can't do.
Yeah, that's one of my superpowers.
Okay.
No, but there's some parameters, but again, in order to be in order to be trustworthy, she needs to have an opportunity to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best way to do that is be transparent and talk with her. So we talk, and she's a smart kid. She's a perceptive kid, and she wants to be a good person. So therefore, I got to give her an opportunity to display being trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very pointed about letting her have any more than just that. And she knows it. She doesn't ask for it. She doesn't want it. She doesn't need it. And she'll tell me that there's no pressure from her for her to have something else like Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't want it. She's good. She's good with the TikTok account that she has. And I just think it's damaging on the psyche.
It's so damaging.
Dude, I'm a 43-year-old stuck in my way, know what I am on earth at this point, male.
Yeah.
I know how it makes me feel depending on the level of engagement based on what I put out there.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it doesn't make you feel great if you don't get a ton of engagement, right?
Or if somebody else is having success, it can be not, and it's so like it's a blip because we're all susceptible to it. I know the trappings of social media and the trappings of comparing yourself to anyone else but who you were yesterday. And I'll be like, oh, I'm trying to do this podcast thing, and I'll be like, oh shit, that person put out a podcast. Oh, that looks good. Oh man. And like you let it get to you. Or I had one of these with another buddy that got like 8,000 views and a lot of comments and overwhelming support, but like 4 bad comments. And like, this guy's so dumb. And I'm like, God.
Yeah,
I can't imagine if I was 13. I wouldn't be able to handle that.
Yeah, so same thing. So like, and you, how old are you?
35.
God, you're a young man. But you're a 35-year-old guy, right? And you're pretty comfortable with who you are in this world, right?
Yeah.
I'm at 43. I am, and I still have those same feelings based on engagement or what else I see from somebody else out there. It's natural. It's called human nature. Could you imagine putting that in the hands of a 13, 14-year-old? And middle school is a tough age.
Girl.
Yeah, but just in general, like I remember being 13, 14, weird. I was a weird fucking kid, dude.
Yeah.
And the difference is when I got like, I wanted to be cool like everybody else. You're trying to figure out how you're going to fit in.
Yeah.
And when you get home, you could let your hair down and be the weird ass kid. With social media, you can't. And I just couldn't imagine putting into the hands of a kid that age that's trying to fit in. There's a lot of stuff going on. You're hitting puberty. There's a lot of stuff going on for that. And just for if you have a classmate, put a selfie. And they get a ton of engagement. Then you put a selfie and you get a little engagement. How's that going to make you feel?
Forget about if somebody's like,
I'm not putting her in that position.
Yeah.
I don't want to say subjecting because there's a lot of parents out there that do, and I'm not saying that's bad or I'm wrong, right, and they're wrong because I don't believe that. It's just how I believe, and I understand letting kids have it because it's how they communicate. I just don't want to put Avery in a position to where she has to go through those types of feelings. That's it.
And there's that piece of it. Then there's just like the addiction piece of it because it's extremely it's a hack on your dopamine and,
no doubt,
and it's easy to get addicted to it. And then productivity is like
it's a time robber. It burglarizes your time.
It does, and time is not coming back.
No.
Having said all this, I'm recording this on my phone, and I'm gonna put it on Instagram, and I hope a ton of people engage.
I do too. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel really bad.
Yeah. No, it. The only here's the thing. So the more
I'm just kidding. I'm not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're not gonna like compare yourself to hot realtor.
Yeah. No. Because I know that's what I'm not. I got a face for podcasts.
Yeah. Well,
not
audio
recorded,
podcast.
but yeah, audio. It's just strictly audio.
No, I think you're handsome
just
fella.
Blur me out.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, right.
We'll put
like
Sam's face on you.
Sam's more handsome than me for sure.
Sam's
he's also younger.
Well, he's hip.
Yeah, that's true.
He's extremely hip.
And that's another thing I'm not. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a goddamn cat shirt.
I know.
You know.
Which,
I mean, it was in the spirit.
It's in the spirit.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Right. I mean, the cat doesn't look too happy, but
grumpy cat.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have a sweater that's exactly the same.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't wear it.
I
mean, it's very short-sighted of you.
Well, Sam texted me.
Yeah.
On your way over here and was
he wants snippets.
He wants snippets.
I was supposed to tell you that, by the way, but I was like, I'm gonna forget, so that's why he texted you.
And that's cool. I'll give him the whole thing.
Yeah.
My goal with this.
By the way, you're not the only one who does that too. Like he'll say, "Hey, can you bring this from your house?" And I'll just kind of look at him and be like, "I'll text Julie. That's my wife."
Mm-hmm.
So he'll text her. He has a line directly to her to remind me to bring stuff to work or to do certain things that, help me prepare the next day because I know I'll forget.
He's a good. So I know him through our interactions only.
Yeah.
But there's people, you being one of them, that you don't need to spend too much time with. Well, we actually spent we probably 2 years trying to. So
a lot of adversity.
Yeah. And you learn a lot in the foxhole.
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah.
So
God, you should tell that story.
Yeah. Right.
You might need another hour.
Yeah, we could spend the whole podcast talking about that. But there are people that you can spend a very little amount of time in the grand scheme of things and realize that's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
You being one of them.
Appreciate that.
And I'm very scatterbrained and roundabout when it comes to doing this. I find I've only done a few of them, so I'm trying to develop my way of doing it. But the purpose of it is those snippets.
Yeah.
We aren't professional podcasters. I'm not a professional interviewer. I don't imagine someone's going to sit down and consume a full hour of this. I sure hope so. But
I mean, it's pretty riveting stuff so far.
I think so. Yeah. But my goal is to sit down across from somebody, look them in the eyes, have a conversation, have a great conversation, and both of us leave having feeling fulfilled in a conversation. And then if a fantastic podcast comes from it, great. If I can cut up and get you and your team 5 pieces of content that can get you some engagement and we can collaborate and both reach our people, then even better. But if the only thing that comes of this is we both had a good time talking, great.
Yeah.
Because, with the phones and with everything that's going on in the world, the only time that I sit across from people and look them in the eyes and talk is in this setting, and it's a shame, and it should be done more. But that's why I'm doing this, and I started doing it with friends and family. And the other piece is I've been chasing realtors for 10 years now.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's so much fun.
Yeah. I'll speak for the realtors out there. We love the free lunches, man.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So what is it? You got to add value. It's not going to be one-to-one.
It's relationship based, man, and it takes time.
Right.
And it's value based.
Value based. So how am I going to add value? Well, I'm not going to give you a referral for every referral you give me because people don't come to the loan officer first. It's just not how it works. So racking my brain on adding value, and maybe this is the way that I find my niche in adding value. Yeah, for sure.
You just get up or you hit pause?
Yeah, go.
Do you hit pause? How do people use the bathroom on these things? They just go. I just disappear?
That's what this is for.
You've done that. That's another.
Atlas Premier Realty.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Kellar.
Mm-hmm. One of many at Atlas Premier Realty.
What? Right.
I'm just here. Yeah.
What would you say is a sturdier foundation? Your word or your squat form?
Squat form like weightlifting?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, definitely my word.
I think your squat form is so
yeah. Well,
sturdy.
I've been doing it for a while.
Right.
Yeah, but
and that's a big part of your life.
Exactly. But I've been keeping my word for longer than I've been squatting. So
Okay.
we'll go with word. But the squat, I feel good about the squat form.
All right.
Yeah.
Greg Brock.
Yeah.
Is he the fastest gun in the West? And by the West, I mean Westminster.
Westminster, the fastest gun?
Yeah.
Drawing from the hip?
Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think he's very fast, but I bet you he would tell you there's some guys that are faster than that he shoots with regularly.
Yeah.
But he's pretty fast. He's pretty good.
He's a big old boy.
Yeah, and he can draw a gun, so and shoot. So
and sling real estate.
Yeah, man, sling real estate.
I worked with him.
Bench. Yeah.
So
he has one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen in a gym. A 500-pound bench.
That's crazy.
I was like, there's not a whole lot of human beings that can squat or deadlift 500
so
pounds. So
three plates is 315.
Yeah.
4 plates is 375.
I don't know, whatever.
90.
You start
45.
to lose me after 3 plates.
350, 405.
Yeah.
405.
405. Another 90 is 495.
So
5 plates each side plus a 2.5. Yeah.
And that 2.5 makes a lot of difference.
And
when
every pound counts at that point. Yeah.
You've seen this?
Yeah, I was spotting the spotter because I was looking. It was our strength coach who was spotting him, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, how the hell are we going to do this? And he goes, let me just get above him in case he needs it. And if you see me struggling, jump in here. I'm like, jump in here? It's not much of a strategy. This guy has 500 pounds on his chest, but yeah. But he got it off his chest with ease. It was pretty impressive. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
Working out is really important.
Yeah.
I think doing any type of struggle is important. And if you can manufacture that struggle in a safe environment, then in the gym, then that is just good for you.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Struggling and fighting through that struggle is
and then do it in a controlled environment.
Right. It's a microcosm of everything else in life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was going to be my other silly question. I was batting around some silly questions, but that was going to be my other one was what number is greater? Atlas Premier Realty's units closed in 2022 or Greg Brock's 1 rep squat max?
Oh, definitely his 1 rep squat max. Although I mean he's
What's
trying
his
to work
squat
back.
Max like
geez, man.
700 pounds?
No, not 700. I think he's in that 600 range.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't closed 600 this year.
Okay.
We'll be just short of 400.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
my squat max will be a little more than what we closed this year. Yeah, I know. I'm in the game.
Dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I have these little skinny chicken legs.
Mm-hmm.
I went through you
can't shoot a rowboat or you can't shoot a cannon from a rowboat. I butchered that. Damn
I don't even know what that means.
It means you got to have a strong base, man.
Right, okay. Yeah. Well,
you're a smart guy.
Yeah. So, yeah, the rowboat would fly away.
Yeah,
but you messed it up first.
I did. I fucked it up. Sorry.
All right. So.
Can I say that on here?
You can say whatever you want.
Hell yeah.
You can say whatever you want.
Hell yeah. This is great.
So.
These are fun questions, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I had my other one that I was tossing around, but I didn't really know how to word it. Was okay. Is Ryan Wilkerson? He's like he is to valuing a house what Bob Barker is to The Price is Right. He just knows the price of everything.
Yeah. He's your typical game show host. Is basically what you're saying.
And then
he'd be a great game show host, actually. Yeah, he would be.
How's this come on down?
You know what? I wish he could call in right now.
Is he moved?
Yes, he moved to Charleston.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that mean for him and you?
He's still with Atlas.
Beautiful.
He is fulfilling a vision of his that when he came to Atlas 5 years ago, he made clear that was him and Laura's his wife, their vision for their family. And my response to that was, if we don't get you there, then I'll consider it a failure on our part too. Mm-hmm. So as hard as it was for him to physically move away, he's one of my best friends. He's a big piece of the growth that Atlas has seen in the 5 years that he's been here, but also in the last 2 years since we've pivoted and reshuffled the deck and kind of had our renaissance. So I miss him dearly. We had a lot of banter, which was always fun, kept things light. And he really cared about what we were doing. So it just means he's not physically around as much, but he's still here.
So has Atlas expanded to South Carolina?
Not yet. We're not quite ready for that, but it's not out of the question at some point. So he fulfilled that vision. I'm super proud of him. It was not a lot of people have the courage to say it, but then the courage to also do it. I'm super proud of them. They're doing well, and they're happy down there. He's super pumped.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I definitely stalk your guys' social media. I enjoy you guys.
What a creep.
Yeah, I'm creepy. You don't even want to know about the things that I enjoy to smell.
Back to smelling stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you and Greg, were you buddies, or did you meet? Because I knew you from Kellar Williams' Legacy.
Yeah. So Greg was with my previous real estate team before he broke off and started Atlas. And then I became somewhat of a free agent and partnered with him.
Oh, gotcha.
In Atlas. So Atlas was originally started in 2014 by just Greg.
Nice.
And then I joined as a partner in 2017 to help kind of get it into the next gear together. But Greg had started in real estate in 2007, I think. And at the time, he was a solo agent, just got into the business, young guy.
I was a freshman in college.
What were you?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for, really nailing home how old I feel. But I was in, I think that was my fourth year. Things were starting to change in the real estate industry, and really my partner at the time, Corey, and it was just him and I, and it was just about our hustle and what we could do. But we started to feel the change, and then Greg kind of comes along, and Corey likes him, and I like Greg too, but I was like, I don't really feel like babysitting this dude. He's your responsibility. So Greg comes on the team, and sure enough, figures, we hit it off. We become really good friends, and we had some successes. We got through the Great Recession together, which were some really hard, lean years, but it goes back to
2008, 9, 10.
Oh, yeah. But going back to experiencing adversity together. It was hard. But we got through it, and recovery really started in 2010, I would say, is when the storm started to break. So we got to enjoy that journey of getting through that together. And then in 2014, we moved from our brokerage at the time, and we went to KW. And at that point, Greg kind of, I don't want to say had one foot out the door, but he had already kind of really been thinking about doing something on his own, and we were making a move. And he's very, very big entrepreneurial spirit. I knew before that happened that we were probably on borrowed time with him. He had outgrown the position on the team, and we weren't thinking big enough to keep him. We didn't. He needed a bigger opportunity, and we weren't big enough to find one for him. So short-sighted leadership on our part. So he broke off and formed Atlas, and I remember at that time, like, looking over his shoulder while he was still working with us, helping him pick out logos and, helping him with some things.
That says a lot about you too, though.
Dude, I mean, it sucks. It doesn't feel good, but, I mean, I'm not going to not stop caring about somebody because you go on a different path. That's not how life works.
Yeah.
We can still do this together. So we maintained a pretty close relationship, albeit in different offices. We still had the similar circle of friends. We were still at the same gym together. So we were still working out together. And, he was always in my ear a little bit, like, man, you should come help me and this and that. And Corey and I, when we were together, we had talked about possibly going independent. It was kind of always a side conversation. And, as it came down to it at end of 2016, and, Corey and I started having discussions about, going in different directions, which were amicable, and we're still great friends to this day, which I'm very proud of, by the way. Greg, the conversations with Greg heated up, and, you know, it for the first time in a while, I felt wanted, and needed, and
Very important.
Yeah, it was, and then we joined up officially in the beginning of 2017, and it was a fun time. We experienced a lot of wins, and then, you know, I guess 2018 into 2019, we started to, you know, chalk up some L's, and that didn't feel good, and we made some wrong turns, and we had to learn, and we had to recover from our own mistakes, and so we've been through our fair share of ups and downs, and we're trying to figure out what direction we wanted to go with this company. We made a move from Reisterstown to Westminster,
which is like such a home for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, to be in Main Street in Westminster and be in a community
really
that
cool
I love.
spot.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you. It's I love it. I love being involved in the community. I think very bullish on Westminster and Carroll County in general. I think the sky's the limit for that area.
Those little towns, from whatever era they are from, are so awesome, and it's like it's like an Americana that is lost, and unfortunately, a lot of those towns have turned really bad, and impoverished, and it's really great to see places that aren't that are thriving.
Yeah,
because that's a community, and community we need so bad.
That's what it feels like, and there's a strong entrepreneurial spirit out there which needs to be harnessed, and I think Carroll County needs to do a better job to see that that entrepreneurial spirit is captured and stays in Carroll County. But I'm proud of the direction it's headed. I'm excited for the future for it. Very bullish on Carroll County, Westminster.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You said that you took some L's. Do you learn more from your losses or your victories?
Of course, man. I mean, you always think about the L's and what could have been, but yeah, we learned a lot through those. We had a pivot, you know, and the thing about that is, especially in real estate, because the sales cycle is slow, right? You could say you want to buy a house, but it could be today, right, and be a new client, but it could be months or maybe even a year, or more, before you actually do. And then when you do sign on the dotted line to buy something, it's at least 30 days before you reap any kind of financial benefit for your work. So recovering from mistakes or blind spots takes some time.
Yeah.
So we learned quite a bit, and it's the backbone of who we are today, which still is with its mistakes, but a very, very sturdy foundation, and we're poised to do some big things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've gone from the two of you to, you said, 23 agents.
Yeah, so we experienced a bit of a reshuffling in 2020, towards the end of 2020. So we're coming up on the second year anniversary. Actually, we are past the second year anniversary of that official reshuffle, but it saw me move into the CEO role. Greg is broker agent, a co-owner, my partner. But I moved into the CEO role. We reshuffled our leadership team, and we reshuffled everything from systems on how we manage our money and budget to our career path, which is what it is today and has allowed Atlas to grow. And I think we need to be a little louder about, because it's not groundbreaking, it's not brand new, but it is a place that people can come, develop, grow their agent technical expertise, and as they grow and learn to fish, so to speak, on their own, they don't need to be counting their money and looking for greener pastures. If they like the culture and they fit, it's just a matter of moving into moving up in the career path and the financial model. So I was really proud of the things that we did in a relatively short amount of time. We got hit with an opportunity to expand into Canton at the end of 2020. So kind of one of the first decisions I had to make as the new CEO was like making this risky move into a new space and expanding and having two offices, which is it was a sink or swim moment.
That's on Canton, in Canton on the Square.
Yeah.
Which ironically is the
cool
office,
location, and it's
the office where I cut my teeth. I was
Is that right?
In-house lender at Legacy Metropolitan.
No way. Okay. Yeah.
For I don't know how many years, but so it's another cool spot.
Yeah.
I prefer the Westminster spot. But you guys, so Go ahead.
And expanding into that, it was, like I said, it was a sink or swim moment. But what was incredible was the velocity and the energy that Sam, Matt, Ryan insulated around me. It's like, you're not drowning in this. What do we need to do to make this decision? And it was simple. It was like, we got to make this as much of a science as possible. Mm-hmm. And we defined what that looked like, and we went to work, and we quickly came up with things that we use now as a blueprint going forward when we're ready to expand. And we had to adjust and tinker with it along the way, but we really came up with something I think is going to be the backbone of Atlas for years to come. And it was all credit to these guys. I mean, these guys made it happen and really, really put together something that we could grow off of down there in a very short amount of time, and with not much information. It had to be curated,
right?
And it was pretty awesome to be a part of and see those guys go to work. So we're fortunate.
Well, I think that everything you just said kind of I don't know if it sums up, but you mentioned that you would love to you need to be more vocal about how great of a place Atlas is. And going through all those things and just simply the things that you talk about and you highlight the people that helped you just highlights what I have seen in you, that you are extremely well thought out, introspective, and caring person, and probably boss. And anybody that has the opportunity to potentially at least look at Atlas as a home should be honored.
Yeah,
because
I appreciate that.
And that's part of the reason why I have that I was so adamant about wanting to have you come on here, because from the time that we've spent together, it is so easy to realize that you are you hold yourself in a high regard, and I'm sure you hold other people to those standards, which I admire. And I admire the integrity that you have, the integrity that you had when I was a client of yours, the things that you did to help me through my situations, and then professionally as a loan officer and being in the same spheres and running around in the same circles and seeing the business that you do, completely admire it. But that's all about you, and I could sit here and tell you all of those things for the next 10, 15 minutes. But when you think about it and you talk about it, it's about the people that help you.
Every single time. And it's the truth, but it is the truth. I'm a piece of it.
Right.
I'm a piece of it, and I believe in creating an ecosystem, an environment where people can thrive, and giving them parameters of values and what the mission is, and trusting them. And that's all I've ever done.
How are you when you have to get hard on somebody?
That word is probably not the word I would tend to use, because it most people think of it as like you have to come down on somebody.
Right.
I think it's just having an honest, transparent conversation, but I think you can do that and be hard on somebody. I'm using air quotes, but in having some accountability if you're coming from a place of being genuine and caring about that person.
Yeah.
So it usually starts with that. Is that, hey, I'm coming from a place of I care about you. I want to see you do well. And then, this is what the issue is. Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Empathize before you criticize. It's something we use a lot around Atlas is, before you ready to criticize somebody, make sure they're okay. Mm-hmm. You don't know what they might have had a bad day or a rough week or might be going through it. So empathize before you criticize. And it's usually, that's usually at the backbone of accountability that we need to have in Atlas.
So, and what I meant by that is I've had bosses and coaches that have been hard on me, and they love me very much and want to see me succeed. Mm-hmm. So being hard on somebody doesn't necessarily mean like you said, it's not.
I think it's just most people's connotation to it is I'm ready to whip you.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the case. Yeah. Okay. It's empathize before you criticize. That's that's how we that's the filter to which we come down hard on somebody, if you want to put it that way.
I think that is awesome, and I actually have never heard empathize before you criticize, but it's like you never know what anybody's going through. You could be driving in traffic and somebody cut you off and slam on their brakes and flip you the bird, and you don't know if they're coming from the hospital and you just saw their mom.
Exactly.
Like,
it's just your knee-jerk reaction that they did something that caused a minor inconvenience to you, and so you're mad at them. But the truth is, you don't know why they did what they did, right? So yeah, I mean, that's how we go about accountability: is empathize before you criticize. I mean, with our agents, with the people that are on payroll there, with one another, is first, are you okay? Everything okay? If everything is okay, then cool. Let's talk about this, whatever it might be, and get the person's viewpoint, what they saw, and then help them through what maybe they could have done better and what the solution is going forward.
So, I'm a new real estate agent. I just got my license, and I come to you, and we hit it off, and you're like, hey, if you want to come work here, there's a seat for you, and we'd love to have you. And I come, and I'm an employee, and I'm like, okay, how am I finding business? How are you guys generating leads?
Yeah.
Getting new business?
Yep. So that's a great question. So that was another piece that came through the renaissance of Atlas was coming up. We call it RAMP, which is our rookie agent mastery program, and it's designed to get people into production as quickly as possible. And it's gone through multiple revisions to make sure that we're cutting to the chase and getting people into productivity as quickly as possible. But our thing is, like, again, going back to sales cycle and the nature of curating business and real estate, it's tough. It's not easy. It's not like you say, hey, I got my license, and then people start coming out of the woodworks. And it's not.
Thank God you got your license.
Yeah,
I need to sell my house and buy.
Yeah, and it's also not something that people do frequently in their life, right? Like, it's not buying a new pair of sneakers or even a car. It's something that happens truly as you have a need. Now, the flip side of that is it's a basic need, one of the few commodities, the only commodity that is. So there's always going to be a need for it, but it's got to be a true need. People don't just pick up and move. Most people don't every 2 years or every few months like they do sneakers or cars sometimes. So it's hard, and so you got to nurture those relationships. So what we want to do through our rookie agent mastery program, RAMP, is we want to help augment your production with leads. We have company generated leads that we pay for, but while you're doing that, hold you accountable to building your business through your own sphere of influence. So teaching you how to fish, but also helping you eat in the meantime.
Yeah.
And then holding you accountable to the actions you need to do to build your business so you're self-sustained. We don't want you to stay on team leads and stay in our team agent model. We want you to progress up. We're supporting and fostering and encouraging you.
And you're very clear about that.
Yes. Yeah. We because a durable business is built on a business that you can curate on your own, not on what we can augment for you. Because guess what? Like, if you come in as a new agent and you do really well converting the leads that we give you, what if we have to pivot and we can't provide those leads anymore?
Right. Or what if the lead source goes away?
Yeah. So it's about helping agents control their careers. And that's what Atlas is all about. Atlas is about development. Like, we believe that a company shouldn't control your career. It's your career. You steer your own ship. We should be the lighthouse. And then you determine how far out to sea you want to go. If you want to stay close to shore and have us nurture you and support you and not be in too deep a water, fine. We're happy to have you, and we'll continue to do that. If you want to do that and to the point where you're ready to go out to sea, we'll take you as far as we can take you, and hopefully you love it enough that when you're ready to set sail and steer your own ship out there, that you'll stay here. But we're the lighthouse. You steer your own ship.
You are poetic.
Oh, I have a lot of practice at saying that. Yeah.
Plus, but you care about it. And
yeah, I believe it, man. I mean, because at the end of the day, man, they're like most really good agents that can curate their own business don't need the brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
Yeah.
We want to develop you to the point where you say, I want to stay here because of what you've done for me.
And this is a great place.
Yeah,
I'm happy
yeah.
to come to work
Or
with
if I'm an
you.
existing agent and I'm curating my own business, these guys, this company helped me get to the next level, right? But we're not naive in thinking that we have any sense of control over you, and we don't want it. And you deserve better than that. We just want to support you and be your lighthouse. That's it, you know.
That's awesome.
And develop you along the way. So it's not just development and technical expertise, because we want people at Atlas to be better people because they work there, not just good real estate agents. Like, we can help you do that, but that's just what you chose to do for a living.
Right,
who
you spend 8 hours a day.
Dude, most people spend a third of their life at work.
Yeah.
So we want to help develop you as a person. So that's through give back opportunities. We talk about parenting. We have classes that we teach on basic budgeting, so you can manage your money. You know how much of a skill that is? There's probably people listening to this right now that don't manage their money, that make a ton of money but don't manage it real well. It's a skill that's learned. So we teach that. We teach how to, the next level with that is how you take money that you saved and you use it to help leverage making more money through investments. We want you to be a well-rounded person.
Some would see that as like an HR package, like it's a perk.
Yeah,
it's you know, like an HR a giant corporation would have that as part of their HR, where you could go take these classes.
We are very much a development company. We're going to help you develop as a new agent and help you curate your own business. And when you get to that point, and you progress into our financial model, and you're in the highest level of our career path, if you want to create a team and start developing your own, creating a business, you wouldn't believe how many agents think they have a business, but they don't really have a business.
Right.
And a business, I would say, has a lot of different definitions, but I would define it as something that you can step out of and it would still go, and it's durable through multiple economic cycles. If you can't say that, you don't really have a business.
Right.
Hate to say it, but there's something broken.
Yeah.
So we want to develop you from a really good real estate agent and human being to somebody that can create, that has a business that can step out as much or as little as they want, and the business will still go.
Yeah.
And it's durable. That's the key word, man, because we're going through it right now. There's a lot of oh shit moments going on out there, right? So how do you curate a business that is durable through multiple economic cycles? So
and they're going to happen, so you better be prepared.
And you have no control over it. So but you do have control over what you're creating. So that's what Atlas is development all through that process.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And dude, that's what attracts me to you. I've heard you talk like that before, and it's just, I don't want to dote over you, but I admire it. I admire you, and I admire it, and I admire what Atlas has done over the last couple of years.
I'm a piece of that process.
Yeah.
Everybody there has a say in that, and has a piece of it, and believes in it, and I think that's why it works.
And the couple guys that I know display that. It's a team.
Yeah.
So, but
and we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it shows.
There's a little bit of fun sprinkled in.
Yeah. I bet. I mean, it shows. You're a fun guy. Sam's great, and
like a mushroom fun guy.
That's
dad joke.
Yeah.
You might want to delete that.
You need that on a t-shirt.
No one's gonna laugh at that.
No.
Damn it.
But
nerd.
Mushrooms are a hot topic these days.
I know.
It's strange how many CEOs and stuff are coming out and like saying that they have these experiences, and apparently you can get it in DC.
What, mushrooms?
Yeah.
Like for microdosing and stuff?
Or macro dosing.
Yeah.
If that's a thing.
I think it's the 180 of microdosing. So sure, I'll buy that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. I guess it's legal in DC, which is weird. It's weird.
How much cooler would this shirt be if you were macrodosing on mushrooms right now?
Oh my God, it would be. I'd be having a podcast with the cat.
Exactly, and I would be moving my belly like this to make the cat talk.
Next podcast.
I was gonna say we really missed the boat on this.
2026.
That might go viral.
That would go viral.
Yeah.
It's weird to me that when things are federally illegal, but then they're legal in Washington, D.C. Like marijuana is federally illegal, but it's recreational legal in D.C. It's so strange to me. Or same thing with mushrooms. It's federally illegal, but it's legal in the nation's capital next to the White House. You could go smoke walking down the street next to the White House, but it's federal. It's so weird, but that's just too much.
Our government.
Yeah.
Government. I can't stand our government. I'll just leave it at that.
No, yeah.
Any of them.
Well, they're horrible people, and they've so all right. I've had this. I heard someone say this, and I've thought about it a lot. A couple things. How did this happen? How did we get to this place? And here's one thing that I think. While all of the good people of the world were raising families and starting businesses in the last 50 years of the United States, they were doing those things. I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna raise a good family and I'm gonna go get a job and provide for that family. There's plenty of good people that are running for the school board office and running for senator. There's good people doing that. Well, all the good people were saying there's good people doing that, and the snakes in the grass had their opportunity to get into the head of school boards, to get into the government. And then all of the good people that get into these service positions in government, local and federal, they have to compromise their morals in some aspect, or they're not going to get into that position. And the good ones, I'm assuming, say, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice my morals just this once because I need to do it to get to the next step. Yeah. And then they sacrifice again, and then they sacrifice again. Well, I will speak my mind, and I'll stand up for the guys that I want to stand up for when I get to a position of power. Yeah. And they spend all of this time being insulated. And then by the time they get to the position of power, they don't even know who they were, and they can't even think the way that they were thinking 20 years before. Yeah, they've been changed by insulation.
I can't imagine as somebody that desires being in public service that you get in with the intention of being unethical. So I would imagine you meant to get in to do good, right. But somewhere along the line there's that threshold where you just got things mixed up, and it's ugly. It's ugly, and I don't know when it gets better. I'm kind of curious, man. Like, they're passing these like bills through, and some of the stuff that gets leaked that's in these bills, I'm like, don't these people represent us? Oh, nobody asked me did people raise their hands that we wanted or needed this kind of stuff that are in these bills?
That was my problem with the pandemic.
Or you guys just making stuff up as you go, and we're expected to pay for it,
right?
Because that's the way it seems to me.
It seems that way big time. Yeah. Well, that was my biggest problem with the pandemic was, for the first 6 months, lockdown and restrictions is one thing. For a year and a half, it's like, hey, you had time to take a vote.
Yeah. I know a lot of people in communities that we all live in lost their businesses because of that, and they'll never be able to be. People that did that will never be forgiven.
They've done this already.
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
We'll never forget that happened.
Yeah.
And look, the pandemic was the pandemic, right? Like, we couldn't have. That was probably not preventable. Right, like,
no,
I'm sure some people, and
wasn't.
I'm not an expert, obviously.
Right.
Was that really ever going to be contained? But
right.
Did we need a lockdown because of it? And I knew we didn't know what we didn't know.
Perhaps take a shot for a couple months,
a period of time,
a year and a half,
to where we figure it out. But it just seemed that there was some double standards going on with what was open and what wasn't, what had to be closed, and
who became
what you do this, but I can do this type of
what
stuff.
Billionaires became trillionaires.
Yeah, look, man, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I try to avoid it, but it just seems very difficult to look at what's going on the last 2-ish years and not have some questions.
Well,
right? And that's all. That's about as far as I can take it, because to be honest with you, I don't spend my life thinking about it, and so I'm very uneducated in that regard.
Totally.
But I do. It does get me to. I am side eyeing it. I'll tell you that right now.
Sure.
And
if you're not side
eyeing
all
sides of it, like I don't care left, right. I'm side eyeing. Both of y'all belong over there. And I think every citizen in the United States should feel the same way.
It's a crying shame, but and we'll move on from this because we could get deep, but the conspiracy theorist thing has been co-opted because it people conspire. That's why it's a thing. It's not a conspiracy theory. Doesn't mean a crazy person that believes things that are wildly out of hand. People conspire.
Well, in the absence of information and evidence, the mind goes array, and that's where I think conspiracy theories,
right,
come up. And when you say one thing that people should do, and then you yourself do another thing, that's there's definitely you're being disingenuous, and it's right for people to question that at that point. I think that's where a lot of this has come up.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
Yeah. So we'll move on. I'm really good at segues.
Good.
So
let's hear it.
The Fed spoke today.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I guess they raised the Fed rate by 0.5%.
That was expected, right?
Expected.
Yeah.
Some people were hoping for 1/4 or 0. That was probably overzealous. 3/4. I don't know. I didn't see any repricing of rates. I don't. Most of this.
Well, they took a little bit of a dive yesterday, right? When the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, came out.
So when the CPI came out, the 10-year Treasury bond dipped down to like 340, but it went back up to about 350, and it ended the day about flat. So really nothing happened with rates, which was a little, I don't know, because
disappointing.
Yeah, because if that number is 7.5, rates are gonna jump. But
where are they?
They're flat. They're the same. I mean,
Like
6.5-ish,
okay.
6 3/4.
So
depending on
down about
the borrower.
1% off their highest, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're not as good as they've given a little bit back over the last 2 week, week and a half. They were really great a week and a half ago compared. They were like 6 and pushing like almost below 6, and we're talking like conventional government stuff. You can get down maybe to 5.99, 5.875 with some small buy downs. But do you think that has real estate slowed down?
Yeah, and it definitely slowed down because affordability has been hit.
Do you think so? Do you think that?
But it's also the time of year too. We're back to a seasonal flow in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
so it was going to slow down regardless this time of year.
Always does.
Yeah. But for a year or two into last year, it didn't. It was kind of just beelining right through the winter because things were so crazy. But we definitely have seen a return to the seasonal flow of the real estate market. So a return of normalcy is a good thing because I think the way the market has behaved the last 2 years is really unhealthy. But
fine.
There's no mistaking it that the market has taken a hit because of affordability, because of due to interest rates.
Right. So that's exactly what I was getting at. So from your perspective, do you believe that? I mean, it doesn't take a genius to think that rates at 3% are going to have more people buying than rates at 7%.
Yeah. And
it's really crazy and messed up that they were 3% seemingly one day, and then the next day they were 7%. So the sticker shock is hard for people to get over. And if rates stay around 7%, or let's call it 6.5% for a year, do you think we'll get to a point where people start adjusting their parameters and so if somebody's budget is $3,000 a month, and it's $3,000 a month whether the rate is 3% or the rate is 7%,
because their income's not changing with the interest rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Their budget is $3,000, so that $3,000 just gets you let's call it a $700,000 or $650,000 house versus a $450,000 house. Do you think people will start adjusting? Well, maybe I don't need that 4,500 square foot house. I could do a 3,000 square foot house. Or do you think the prices come down first, or a combination? Or
that's a loaded question, and it's a really, I don't want to. I'm gonna give you my perspective on it, but it is really difficult to answer because it's really based on the individual. I think first and foremost, this market, I think to say I'm not getting into the market because the interest rate, while I get that, I think is a little short-sighted because the interest rate is a piece of the puzzle, right? There's other things to factor in. I think the interest rate being as volatile as it has been has put a more emphasis on the importance of doing an evaluation of whether or not I should get into the market. And by that, I mean, you know, in this, the thumbnail version is to know what your affordability is, know what you can afford based on where you want your mortgage to be. Always start with the end in mind. So if it's $3,000 a month and the interest rate today is whatever 7%, what does that get me in terms of a sale price of a house? And then once you have that number, you have a budget.
And in order to get that information, speak to a loan officer.
Speak to a loan officer. Don't do a mortgage calculator online. Like, just get the bottom line is you want to make the good, confident decisions, and the only way to do that is to have the right information. So to know that you have the right information, make sure you're working with people or you're talking to people. It's not a waste of time. It's not going to hurt you. Making sure you're talking to people that know what the hell they're doing instead of trying to figure it out online. The question isn't how do I do it? It's who can I talk to help me do it? Right. Who, not how. It's a good book, by the way. Then you take that $3,000 a month or that sale price, whatever it might be. You reverse engineered it off of what you want per month. You reverse engineer it. Now you have your budget. Then you have to get really serious with yourself or your significant other, or whoever else you might be buying the house with, to know what your true needs are. Not what you want, but what you need. Get real serious about what your needs are. You have to have, they're non-negotiables, and where you want to be. And if you can find a house within that budget, great, because the reality of it is if you buy now and you're happy with what you're getting for the price that you're paying for it, and you're comfortable with the mortgage payment, which when it's all said and done, the dust settles, that's the number that's hitting you in the mouth every month. That's the one that really matters, right? So you're comfortable with what you're buying for the mortgage that you can afford. Now it's, I lost my train of thought there for a second. That's what's really important, right? Like the rest of it's just noise. So, you know, that's, I think first and foremost, it's gotten people need to do that evaluation to determine whether or not this market is right for them. Right. Not the interest rates here, so I shouldn't buy. It's the interest rates here, but let me do an evaluation, see if there's stuff out there that fits my affordability. If no, don't buy. If yes, then consider it, because the fact of the matter, this is what I was going to say, is if you buy and rates stay the same, okay, you just got into a house earlier. You can start building equity earlier, right? Cool, you win. If you buy and rates go up, you won, right? If you buy and rates go down, you have an opportunity to refinance and save some money. You still won. So it's I understand people don't want to buy at a high, but the affordability is really what matters. So just evaluate it. And that's all. I'm not saying you should buy now. I'm not trying to be salesy about that, because I think that's just a cruddy way to go about it. I think it's just evaluate your position and base it off of affordability and what's out there that meets your needs. If nothing, don't buy. If something, consider it. Right. For prices coming down, that's a tricky thing, because it's not like it's not like home ownership or the inventory of homes out there is owned by a corporation that can say, hey, the market's down, let's slash prices, right? Let's roll prices back.
At least not yet. Corporations are trying hard.
The inventory out there is all individual business owners, right? Like all of individual homeowners that are not going to make the same collective decision, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So they're also not going to make a decision to reduce their prices because your affordability got hit. It's going to take unfortunately, some pain of them sitting on the market to decide to reduce the price. I think it's incumbent upon professionals in the real estate industry to help people adjust their expectations. So people basing and seeing what their neighbors sold or their community sold back in May and June, while technically that's been within the last 6 months, that market has sailed. And so you need to really base it on what's been listed and change the approach and price based on what's been listed, not sold, but listed in the last 60 or 90 days, because that's more relevant to today's market, right? And so I think it's incumbent upon us as professionals to get people to change the methodology to which they're basing pricing decisions so that they're positioned properly.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And as for prices in general, man, over the years, I mean, there's no shortage of news out there that says that prices can drop 10 to 20% depending on the recession, which, by the way, by definition, that's ended because we did have GDP growth. And that after 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, which is the definition of a recession, we just had positive. It was very small, but it wasn't negative.
Right.
But there's a lot of signs that point that we're not in a recession. And Janet Yellen, who is, she's like, I think she's the Treasury Secretary.
And she was the head of the Federal Reserve.
She just came out this year and said that she doesn't believe we need to go into a recession,
Yeah.
and spun some positivity around what we're going through. Not to mention inflation seemingly easing the last 2 months. We've seen interest rates stabilize. Here's the long and short of it, man. I mean, if you look at Gen Z and millennial buyers, that represents 140 million people in this country. Of that group, millennials, 47% of millennials currently own homes, and only 2% of Gen Z own homes. So that's, I think altogether it's like about a quarter of that of those two demographics. And the millennial demographic is the biggest generation that we have in the United States. And when you couple it with Gen Z now getting in the position to where they want to buy homes, I just read a study that 60% of them between the two generations believe that home ownership is the highest level of financial success, right above having a successful career, a high-paying career. So home ownership is the pinnacle of success. They all want to own a house.
Which is great.
That same study said that 60% of them envision buying a home in the next 5 years. So if you do the math of 140 million people, and I think less than 30% of them own homes currently, that's, 70% of them want to buy homes in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people entering the market. Now, that's very general numbers, right? But on average, there's, at any given point in time in the United States, there's 1 to 2 million homes active for sale. That's the active inventory. As of November, it was 750,000.
Yeah.
750,000. So we're still in inventory shortage.
Big time.
And in any given year, going all the way back to 2017, on average, there's 5 to 6 million existing home sales. Well, you have
5 to 6 million
home sales a year, annually in the U.S. And in healthy years, there's 1 to 2 million at any given on the market at any given point in time. But right now, there's 750,000. So we are still in an inventory shortage. And you have two demographics that are ready to buy, are at the point in their life where they're starting to make money, and have said that buying a home or owning a home is a pinnacle of financial success. So now you're going to be interjecting the market with demand. How much farther can prices come down in an already inventory starved market before people jump on them? Right. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I just am of the belief, and I could be totally wrong on this, that prices would, and this is specific by area, I don't think we're going to see much of a drop at all before. And if we do see a price drop, I still think there's enough demand that people will jump on it.
And we just went through a period of growth that even if we give back a little bit of value or average, we're still ahead of the game as far as, if you take a 5-year picture of things, year by year over year growth, and you calculate out for 5 years, we're still well ahead of that because of the last 2 years.
Exactly.
Even if we give back 20%.
Well, that fights the whole. Like the other thing I see is people waiting for a wave of foreclosures, and they're saying that because of what happened
2008.
Yeah, and that was a credit induced recession. This is an inflation induced. Two totally different things, right? Mm-hmm. So that had rapid unemployment. I forget what the unemployment rate was then, but it was really high. I think it was in the double digits. Yeah. I mean, we're 3% less, and companies are still hiring. Yeah. So unless we see a massive wave of unemployment, and even then, those people that are unemployed that own homes, if they can't pay their mortgage, they've gained so much equity in the last 2 years. We all have. The wind was at all of our backs, that they would just sell their homes normally on the market versus having to foreclose.
Right.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
The other thing about the Great Recession is property. There was an abundance of homes available on the market, completely different than where we are now. So prices come down, right? Supply and demand. So prices were coming down. And so when people were going through not being able to pay their mortgage because they lost their jobs through unemployment, they were underwater.
And they couldn't sell their house.
Yeah. So I don't know that we see that.
It's different, and we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And to just like put a cap on what you said, nobody knows what's going to happen.
No idea.
But to say that right now is a great time to buy or right now is a terrible time to buy, it's terrible. It's terrible advice, because you don't know what somebody specifically, what their needs, requirements, budget is. So right now could be a fantastic time for some people and a terrible time for somebody standing right next to them. But it's about talking to a professional who you trust and getting their opinion and assessing the situation and then deciding what you want to do for yourself. It's not about like, maybe if you're an investor buying your eighth house, now might not be, if you're, looking at your bottom line and but if you're somebody who has a need and you have affordability and the house is there, sure. And I put a video out about this, and I caught a little bit of heat because I was saying that, if you've got a pipeline of people that are on the sidelines right now, and I have a pipeline of people that are like, I'm gonna wait till the rates come down. I'm gonna wait for those foreclosures. And you and everybody else in the business has 10 people that are doing that. Well, what's gonna happen if and when rates come down? Which you're gonna have 10,000 people all in at once fighting over the same 10 houses in a zip code.
Back to what we were this spring. Yeah.
So, like, if you value not being in a high pressure situation in an open house with 30 people, then there's value right now.
Yeah, there's value in every market.
Right.
It's just, do the conditions meet your goals and needs to what you just said? The people use the adjective, is it good or bad market? And the market's not misbehaving in it, and it's not behaving nicely, right? You're not taking the market out for ice cream because it's behaving well.
Nice and naughty list.
Yeah. It's just right. It's not Mad Cat, Christmas Cat. It's just the market. It's just the conditions. It is what it is. Not to be very cliche about it, it comes down to your personal evaluation and what your needs are. And that'll determine whether it's the right conditions, the right time for you to buy or not. That's it. And that's always been the case. I think what we have switched back to is the market moved the last couple years with interest rates being as low as they have based on opportunity. People sold because they could cash out, and people bought even though they were sky high market prices, and they were willingly paying over market price because they could get more for their money because of the historically low interest rates. It was historic. It was a historic event, historic time in real estate. In our lifetimes, it'll probably never happen again. But a lot of people moved and refinanced based on opportunity. It's never been like that. It's always been based on need. You don't go. There was people that came to us to move that were like, I thought you were never moving. Well, they could step up even further or go to Florida faster than they expected to because they could cash out or they could afford more of the dream house, if you will. So they were expediting plans, right? Yeah. Or changing their plans based on the opportunity. I think the market's completely pivoted back to a need-based moving market, and that's the way it's always been.
Which is normal, and normal is great. And what people need to understand is like the perception of the last 2 years. You just got to wipe it out of your head because it was not normal. Yep. And normal is not bad.
Yep.
Normal is just normal.
It's normal. Yeah. I mean, it's people based on need, right? On their need to move, or their desire to buy our first house, the pride that comes along with it, or growing out of my house, we need to buy a new house, right?
I'm moving my position in my career. I have to go to Texas or wherever, North Dakota.
Need-based market now.
Right.
Not an opportunistic-based market. So that's all. That's, I think as a whole, I think that's how that's it. That's the biggest change. So that makes the pool smaller, right? Because when it's an opportunity-based market, people are coming out of the woodworks. But when it's a need-based market, it shrinks because not everybody has a need,
right?
At least right now. So it's, if you're in real estate, you're a real estate agent or lender, it's gotten harder.
Sure.
The wind isn't at your back anymore. The wind was at all of our back, veterans and new agents alike. The wind is gone. Now it's about who's willing to row.
Right.
And that's going to require, making sure that you're presenting what's going on in the real estate market and regurgitating that for your people so that they can make good buying and selling decisions or determine whether they want to get into the market, right? That's your job as an expert to be able to spend time taking in what's going on and then regurgitating that so that the public can make good decisions
and presenting it to somebody so they can.
Yeah.
Now it's also about getting back into the sales of it, and not the sales of it in that you're selling whatever market is you're jamming on. The sales of it is as in making those connections with people in the community and having conversations and working your sphere of influence to find those people, doing what you have to do on a daily basis to find those people that currently have a need.
Yeah, I mean, that just requires being present, and I think that was part of our ramp program for newer agents is being present in your database, in your communities, and being of value. So, yeah, I mean, it does go back to making connections. I think we've gotten a little lazy in the real estate industry, and all of us, right? No matter if you're a lender, real estate agent, or title, is you kind of sit there and business was kind of coming to you. Well, you now need to show up. You need to be present, and it takes effort.
You need to lead gen. You need to make phone calls.
Got to brush your teeth and get out of the house. I mean, you have to want to get out there and be in front of people and connect with people. Be a resource. So it's you just, like I said, the wind is gone. You got who's willing to row now,
And in some circumstances, row against the wind.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, but if this is your career choice, it is what it is. So block out the noise and start worrying about what you have control over every day.
What a great opportunity to practice patience, and what a great opportunity 100%. to show what you're made of, and a great opportunity to work hard and show up every day despite anybody
no doubt.
Can be the best version of themselves when, like you said, the wind's at your back.
Yeah.
We find out, what you're made of on a personal level. It's easy to be nice to people and kind when things are going your way, but when
adversity
adversity
forges character, it forges your career. You're gonna find out what you're made of now, right? Like, we're gonna find out who's rowing and who was just here for a quick buck. So it takes time, and you said it, you have to be patient. But building a career takes patience. If you thought you were going to build a career because of what just happened in the last 2 years, you built your house on sand,
right?
Dry sand at that. So, it's you're going to have to be patient with it and be consistent with it, and show up.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the most endearing characteristics somebody could have is their willingness and their ability and how they show up and how present they are regardless of the conditions.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think we did a great job.
I mean,
I didn't have.
You're a little
say
biased,
much.
but I mean, we'll see what they say.
Yeah, right.
We'll see how many likes we get.
I mean, we'll get it over to Sam. He'll spruce it up.
Yeah, he'll do something with it. He'll do something cute with it.
So
maybe he can like Photoshop your cat sweater on you.
I'll get him a picture of the cat.
Yep. Yeah.
So what I typically do is I'll cut this up into some Instagram stuff. I'll get as much of it. I think we've gone. The first recording was about a half an hour, and that one's probably about an hour change. So however big the file is, I'll get it over to Sam.
Do some fun stuff. Do some serious stuff.
Yeah, man.
I thought you got some good stuff in there.
I think so. I mean, I want to be helpful for people that listen, and I want to provide a platform for you to.
I mean, and you said it earlier, like what you're hoping to do with this, and I didn't really have any expectations on it. I like doing stuff like this. I like talking with you. But I think, if there was something that could come out of this. It was that hopefully that anybody listens to the snippets, or if anybody had the the patience and the time to actually listen to all of it, they grabbed something from it, or maybe something shook them loose. But there's something of value in it for anybody that was listening.
Right.
That would be my only hope. So,
yes, for sure.
you know, and obviously if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to one of us.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate
and
you
I
having
appreciate you on
This
so
was
many
cool.
levels.
Yeah,
Most of all,
likewise.
as a person
Thank you.
and a man and a fellow parent, but
Likewise.
definitely as a real estate agent and you know, owner of Atlas Premier.
Thank you. I
right,
appreciate it,
brother.
man. I appreciate you having me. It was fun. That was cool, dude.